'Tis the season for the teddy bear toss, and hey, the Laval Rockets set a new record this year. So everybody get those stuffed animals ready, except for this guy. Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of Habs Hockey Report right here on the All Habs Hockey Magazine YouTube channel. We're, of course, part of Rocket Sports Media, also a proud affiliate of the Hockey Podcast Network. And yes, you see that logo over there. This video is also sponsored by the fine folks over at DraftKings. You can find a great incentive from them for signing up for the DraftKings app just by clicking on the link down in the show description below. Welcome to the show. My name is Amy Johnson. I'm your host of the show each and every week. I'm also the lead correspondent over at our AHL and Laval Rocket-centered website called ahlreport.com. If you're not following us there already, be sure you bookmark that, as well as allhabs.net. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, now's the perfect time to do so. We've got some great content coming up over the holiday season, Christmas, New Year's, and launching into January. And there's going to be a lot of fun things to talk about. Today, we've got a little bit, we're kind of gearing up for the holidays. So we've got some holiday cheer to bring you, both from the Montreal Canadiens and the Laval Rocket. We've got some wins to talk about. We've got some losses to talk about as well. And we've got some great responses from some of you to last week's feedback forum questions. So without further ado, let's get to the Habs happenings. Well, the Montreal Canadiens and their fans and coaches this week have been on a bit of a roller coaster ride. It's been some ups and some downs, some wild games, some snooze fest games. You've had a little bit of everything in the last week. Some of the more intense moments, you think of that game against Calgary, we with some scary moments for Tanev after taking that puck up high. Even Kadri ended up having to leave for a little bit, catching a little bit of Suzuki's shoulder head kind of area. Michael Pezzetta throwing the mitts and really going for an energetic bout that night. Arbor Jacki skating across the ice to fist bump him after the whistles had all settled down. They went to TV timeout. Just some real intense moments in that game. And then, Thursday night's game against Anaheim, boy, we could have slept through that. It was not a great showing. The reverse retro curse continues. And you thought maybe, it's Anaheim. Maybe they could finally break the curse. No, they can't break the curse even against the Anaheim Ducks. Not when you've got guys like Trevor Zegras and good on John Klingberg for doing what he did as well. They're at least making it interesting. I mean, Cole Caufield with his 2 goals last night, great. I mean, it's exciting to watch Cole Caufield, but let's think about it for a minute. If you take Cole Caufield out of the equation, and to some effect, if you take Nick Suzuki out of the equation, how exciting would Habs games be right now? Last few weeks? This season? Not very. And that's where you start to kind of see the, So if you do take the Caufield and his scoring touch and Suzuki and his scoring touch out of the equation, you might find a team that's much lower in the standings, as they should be, than the current Montreal Canadiens. And so that's where you start to really realize, okay, well, a team can't just be centered around a couple of dynamic young players. There has to be better development and depth up and down the lineup. And that's what this year is meant to do. Jonathan Drouin back on the power play, the first game that he comes back from a lengthy injury. Jonathan Drouin, who's not done a lick of anything this season or last season, and just waltzes right back into the lineup and right back into the power play. To me, at power play one, to me is ridiculous. That's not helping. I'm using Drouin as an example because he's an extreme example of that's not helping your franchise move forward and develop. Jonathan Drouin can sit on the bench during the power play for all I care, or come out in power play wave 2. Would like to see younger players consistently get put in more strategic situations so that they learn, make mistakes, grow from them, etc., etc., etc. So they started the season a little, I don't want to say hot, but they certainly were winning more often than not towards the beginning of the season. They're starting to get into that, where I feel like they're either having to crawl back into games and claw their way back in, or they're losing more often than they were at the beginning of the season now. And maybe we're now starting to see, as the season kind of grinds on a bit, maybe we're really starting to see the shape of what Marty St. Louis and Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon really have to work with after the holiday season, when trade season really starts to heat up. But despite the wins, losses, excitement on the ice, there was also the beginnings of some holiday cheer off the ice for the Montreal Canadiens. It's always, to me, one of the most heartwarming charity events that the Canadiens do each holiday season, and that is their annual Christmas visit to the Children's Hospital, where they just bring such great big smiles to those folks who are stuck inside those walls, facing some real big challenges and just trying to get healthy and trying to stay positive. And it's always really great to see them bringing some smiles to the faces of not only the patients, but quite frankly, the doctors and nurses and medical staff who work there as well, who have a really challenging job to do every day. And it can be a very heavy job to do at times. So kudos and congratulations to the Montreal Canadiens on another successful Christmas visit to the hospital. I'm sure you made some youngsters very happy and created some great memories that will last them a lifetime, that's for sure. While we're talking about the Habs and quite frankly their prospects, should make mention of the fact that there's going to be some pretty good Montreal Canadiens representation at the World Juniors this year, or could be, I should say. Some countries have already announced their definitive roster for the IIHF U20s. Some of them are looking more at who's been invited to camps, and we have seen some cuts made already. In fact, for Team Canada, Riley Kidney, Joshua Waugh, and Owen Beck all were invited to camp. However, Joshua Waugh is the only one of the three who is sticking around. For the USA, Lane Hudson invited to that camp as well. Engstrom for Team Sweden, Philip Meshar for Slovakia, Vincenz Rohrer for Austria, and I have not seen yet, and I'm sure probably by the time you see this, an announcement has actually come out even, but it's we should be looking for Kapanen. So fingers crossed that yes, for Finland we'll see Oliver Kapanen playing as well. It could be a really fun. I mean, the World Juniors is always a ton of fun to watch. It's even more fun when there are a significant amount of Canadiens prospects involved, and you really get a good chance to watch them all in one place, watch them play each other sometimes, but just something to keep an eye out, and we'll have more about that in the coming weeks as we start to get into things closer to the beginning of the tournament, because Christmas is just around the corner, which means Boxing Day is just around the corner, And all us hockey fans know that Boxing Day is the really exciting day coming up on the calendar. But Amy, what's the feedback forum question for this week? Well, it's a special one because when we meet again next week, we're just going to be days and hours away from Christmas. And so my question for you this week, what is your Christmas wish for the Montreal Canadiens? It's as simple as that, and there are a lot of things that you could say in response. Leave your answer down in the comment section below, and you can bet that we will read them next week on a very special ho-ho-ho happy episode of Habs Hockey Report. Before we move to the next segment, I just very quickly want to tip my hat to a former Montreal Canadiens prospect, and that is goaltender Charlie Lindgren. Charlie Lindgren, if you have watched us for a while, and more particularly if you have followed our coverage on ahlreport.com and listened to the Press Zone podcast that we host every week, you'll know that we had coverage of Charlie Lindgren from the day that he went pro by signing as a free agent with the Montreal Canadiens, all through his tenure with the St. John's Ice Caps, with the Laval Rocket, even up with the Montreal Canadiens. We've had dozens of exclusive interviews, I should say, with Charlie Lindgren, even after he went to the St. Louis Blues organization. And most recently, this past August, we had him on the show as well to talk about his move to the Washington Capitals. And, he put up a pretty special 5-game win streak when he got called up last year in St. Louis to fill in for Jordan Binnington, who was out for a little while. And that was not just a fluke. We've always been very supportive of Charlie Lindgren here at Rocket Sports Media, and we know firsthand from watching him practice, from speaking with him, and more importantly, watching pretty much every game he's ever played, what a talented goaltender he is, and just wasn't in the right environment with the Montreal Canadiens organization. And that 5-game win streak in the NHL that he put up last year for the St. Louis Blues was not a fluke. It wasn't a flash in the pan kind of thing, because with Darcy Kuemper going down with injury for the Washington Capitals, Charlie Lindgren has stepped in seamlessly, went on another 5-game winning streak, which, when you think about how poorly the Washington Capitals have been performing this season, is a pretty significant thing to say. That streak was just snapped on Thursday night when the Capitals lost in a very tight 2-1 matchup in which Lindgren still performed really well. So just want to give a stick tap to Charlie Lindgren. He was the NHL's first star this week. The Capitals acknowledged him in the arena at the game last night for that, and that is no small thing. To be the NHL's first star of the week. And we just want to say congratulations to Charlie Lindgren. We're happy to see him getting some pretty well-deserved success, even though it's outside of the Montreal Canadiens organization. And hey, if your Christmas wish was going to be for the Laval Rocket to finally, on this good earth of ours, to get a win, well, you're going to have to come up with another wish, because they won a game. Not only did they win a game, they won 2 back-to-back. The first time they've done that this season. Yes, the first time they have won back-to-back games this season. They finally did it. And they started it off in style last Saturday afternoon. Matinee game against the Belleville Senators. A dominant 7-4 win. Lots of scoring. Lots and lots of scoring, and lots of teddy bears, because it was the teddy bear toss game. It's just a tremendous tradition all throughout the minor and lower leagues, junior leagues, and so forth of hockey, and even over in Europe. The teddy bear toss is just a great way for hockey fans to do something fun, and hockey teams to be able to give back to the kids in their local communities. Laval was looking to beat their franchise record, which was a little more than 6,000 teddy bears, and they're a young franchise, so it's they don't have a lot of years to work off of. So that's a pretty decent franchise record, a little over 6,000 bears. Anthony Richard lighting the lamp to trigger the avalanche of teddy bears to come raining down onto the ice less than a minute into the game. Oh, well, that would be because Scott Sabrin decided to fight John Parker Jones in his AHL debut about 20 seconds into the game. And so Sabrin ended up with an extra penalty on top of the 5 for fighting. And so the Laval Rocket found themselves on the power play less than 30 seconds into the game. Anthony Richard scores a power play goal, and down comes reigning. They blew their franchise record out of the water. 8,845 teddy bears hit the ice. It was tremendous to see. The ice was just full of stuffed animals who are all going to find a very happy home now with kids in the Laval community. So always fun to watch. Congratulations to the Laval Rocket for setting a new franchise record. Really a substantial jump in numbers on their franchise record, which is pretty fun to see. And yes, the rest of the game went on. I mean, they then didn't look back. They scored 5 goals in the first period. They went to first intermission up 5-1 over the Belleville Senators. This, as I said, was John Parker Jones' AHL debut. Joe Verbetic getting his very first AHL start, finally. We talked about that last week. And winning in his very first AHL start. Congratulations to him. He remains with the team because Caden Primo, that cut on his head, is still not healed properly. And so he will not be traveling with the team on the road trip that they're now on. So Joe Verbetic backing up Kevin Poulin. We'll see if he gets in the net again this coming weekend. And so after that, the Laval Rocket did start this 4-game road trip they're on by visiting Utica, who is the one team who they've really had their number of this year. And sure enough, they were able to kind of put it to the Utica Comets on Wednesday night. It was Mackenzie Blackwood is down from the New Jersey Devils on a conditioning stint. This was the first time that he had played since the beginning of November, and he certainly looked a little bit rusty. He did not look like the strong Mackenzie Blackwood we're used to seeing. And so the Rocket were able to take advantage of that and won that game as well. So put together their first back-to-back wins of the season. We'll see if they can build on that as they move ahead now to Cleveland for a 12 noon game on Saturday and a 3 o'clock game on Sunday afternoon. We'll see if they can turn this back-to-back win into their first 3-game win streak. Maybe they can get a win streak going. It would be pretty exciting to see. We'll have all the coverage and all the news for you over at ahlreport.com. Before they headed out on that road trip, however, the Laval Rocket taking part in some of their own holiday charitable work as well. The Laval Rocket does a program every year, and it's not just at Christmas. It's all throughout the year, but at Christmas time, it's kind of a special holiday visit where they do a program called Read for Fun, where some of the players go to local schools in the surrounding Laval area, and they usually play a little bit of hockey with them, kind of some road hockey, ball hockey in the gymnasium. But more importantly, they read a book to the kids. And I think it's a great way. It gives them an opportunity to show a little bit of personality with the kids. Every elementary school class loves to hear a story read to them, particularly if it's from a local hockey star. And so this past week, the Laval Rocket made their December Christmas visit for Read for Fun, and a lot of smiles and memories created there as well. So both the Habs and the Rocket making some great memories for some young ones in and around the Laval and Montreal community this past week, and we say congratulations for that. Well, next week on the show, it will be our Christmas episode. And so we'll probably have a little bit of fun on the show next week, as well as bringing you the latest Habs and Laval Rocket news. We'll try to see if Santa Claus is around anywhere. Maybe he can stop in for a visit. But don't forget our feedback forum question. You will be able to contribute to the holiday spirit on next week's show by answering this week's feedback forum question, which is, what is your Christmas wish for the Montreal Canadiens? And I can't wait to see what it is that you as Habs fans are the most hopeful for this Christmas season when it comes to your favorite hockey team. Last week, I asked the feedback forum question of, who do you believe is the first player who's going to be traded away? in the upcoming trading season before the deadline. Ursa Major saying Edmondson is a trade candidate I wouldn't have considered before the season's start. I acknowledge that. That's the whole reason I asked the question, because I think that, a few months of play, we can only go preseason off of what's on paper and what we can kind of give an educated estimate about what we think will happen, which players will perform well, which won't, that type of thing. And I think Edmondson maybe has been a bit of a surprise for some people, and that you wouldn't have considered Edmondson a trade candidate before the beginning of the season. Although he then goes on to say, who goes first? Who knows? LOL, which of course is absolutely the case. Who knows who Kent Hughes is going to deal first? Center Heiss also comes in and says, great question this week. That's hard to say. It's a toss-up between Edmondson, Monahan, and Anderson. Is who he thinks are the three candidates who he believes will go first. He says there seems to be a lot of interest and rumors heating up the most with these three, and I honestly think we could get a first rounder for each of these guys. And that's really what it's going to boil down to, right? How much can you maximize getting in return for these players? And that's what's going to be fascinating to watch after the holidays, when the trade season will really begin to heat up. So thank you both for your answers. I look forward to reading everyone's answers next week and finding out what's on your Christmas list from Santa for the Montreal Canadiens this year. And I very much look forward to seeing you back here next week for the show, because I'm like a kid at Christmas at the holiday season, and it's my favorite holiday and time of year. And so I can't wait to share all of that with you next week on the show. If you happen to miss last week's show, however, you can check that out right here. Get out your stockings and join me right back here next week for another special Christmas episode of Habs Hockey Report right here at All Habs.